Hello and welcome to Amanda's Wellbeing Podcast, a podcast where we discuss all things relating to your well-being, ranging from nutrition to physical and mental health. I am Amanda Hayes, your host, a nutritionist with a passion for health and well-being. Before I introduce today's guest, I will take a moment to let you know that you can subscribe to my podcast on YouTube, hit the red subscribe button and the notification bell, or on your favourite podcast app, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify or Google Play. I will also mention that, although I will often be speaking with experts, any information or advice provided on Amanda's Wellbeing Podcast is not intended to be used to treat, cure or prevent injuries or medical conditions, and is not a substitute for advice from your own health professionals. Today I'm here with Charlotte Weigold. Hello, Charlotte.
Hi.
And welcome to Amanda's Wellbeing Podcast.
Thank you.
Charlotte is a registered psychologist with a practice in Adelaide, South Australia. Charlotte says that understanding how and why you behave the way you do allows for targeted treatment and effective change. So let's learn more about that. So Charlotte, can you tell us a bit about your path to becoming a psychologist and also what inspired you to study psychology?
Yes. Well, so when I started at uni, I did psychology as a subject and enjoyed it but didn't continue it. Swapped to economics with the sort of more mathematics base, and completed a Bachelor of Economics, but went and worked as a management consultant. I took a graduate position with Price Waterhouse and I didn't really enjoy that. Did a few different things, but eventually made my way back to psychology. So that gets back to reading this book. That was my mum's book, a book that she had read, and it was about hypnosis with anxiety and depression.
Right.
And so I looked into actually studying hypnosis.
Wow. And was that driven by the thought that you could help people? Or interest?
It was an interest in helping people. It was an interest in the spiritual side.
Mm-hmm.
And at that stage, to study hypnosis, you had to already have a graduate degree, which I already had, but you needed to be a health professional. So GP, psychiatrist, psychologist, dentist. So I thought, well, if hypnosis is something I want to look into further, I need to get another undergraduate degree in psychology.
Okay, and then once you had graduated, did you work for somebody or set up your own practice?
I did both. I set up my own practice just for a day a week while I was doing supervised training. And at the same time I was working at Pulteney as their school psychologist.
Oh, wow.
So I was doing a bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also doing a graduate diploma in hypnosis.
Wow.
So I did 3 at the same time.
That sounds pretty busy.
It was a busy time.
Yeah.
It was a very busy time. And then after working at Pulteney, which I loved, I took a year's leave without pay to focus on my private practice, and I didn't actually go back.
So you never looked back?
Yeah.
And in your private practice today, do you have a main client base in terms of age and gender, or do you see anyone?
I do see anyone, but my main client base is adolescents.
Yeah, I thought so.
Just from moving out of the school system, and I love them.
Yeah, oh, that's great.
They're a great group to work with.
And it must be very rewarding being able to help young people.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really rewarding because you're making a change that's going to see them through a large proportion of their life.
Last and help them.
And they're really open to suggestion and open to change and
Yeah, and I think also for young people, talking to someone they trust who's not their parent is a good thing.
Yeah.
So back to hypnosis, because I'm absolutely fascinated by that. I was just wondering if you can tell us what exactly is hypnosis.
Right, there are lots of definitions of hypnosis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
what's your definition?
So my definition would be, it's like a focused state of relaxation. and it's different to relaxation, but it's a guided relaxation where you almost distract the conscious mind so that you can work with the unconscious mind.
And can you walk us through how you hypnotise someone in terms of what does the process involve? Like, how do you get your clients ready and how long does it take?
Yeah, so hypnosis is really just one of the tools that I use. So I rarely would, no one ever comes to me just for hypnosis.
Right.
They present with behaviour issues or change. They want some change or some intervention, and I could use CBT, which is the Medicare endorsed tool, or I could use hypnosis. So if hypnosis is something they'd like to look into, I would talk them through it, give them an explanation of what it might feel like, give them a definition and varying definitions of what it is. And then the most important thing is to get to know them and have a relationship of trust. Otherwise nothing will change, and that's the same for most therapy.
Right.
All therapy with me. And so we develop that relationship, look at what they're wanting to change and see if that is actually the best thing to do, because someone might come and say, I want to change this, I want you to use hypnosis to help me with this, and it may not actually lead to a successful outcome. So there's a lot of understanding and discussion that goes into before hypnosis, understanding what the intervention might look like. Once we decide that's what we're going to do, I might conduct an induction, which is leading someone into hypnosis through guided relaxation, a deepener, and let them feel it and then walk them out again. So it's like a disengagement.
Right.
And most people just enjoy that for the relaxation benefits.
And do people, I've never been hypnotised, so do people remember it or not?
Yes, not always straight away. They will often remember the guided relaxation and the deepener, if that's the method you choose. Some people have different methods of doing it. People will often tell me that there's suggestions that I might embed, or the metaphors that I use, come to them.
Oh, that's interesting.
Afterwards, and they will ask me at the next session, well, did you suggest that this?
Oh, wow.
And
fascinating.
Yeah, there's no secrets though, so I'm very open to discussing what has happened in hypnosis with people straight afterwards. Some people are very alert and focused through a hypnosis session and know exactly what's going on.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Are some people easier to hypnotise than others?
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
and that is because if you're very sceptical, you wouldn't relax and open yourself to it. So there isn't there's a scale.
Oh, I see.
How easy you are to hypnotise. That used to be used. I mean, I don't think people use it anymore. But mostly it's practice. It's like anything. It's practice, like meditation.
Okay.
And I would encourage people to go home and practice self-hypnosis and talking themselves into a state of relaxation and talking themselves out and meditating. All of those things contribute to how successful you will be as
I see. So practice like anything, like meditation.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds very different from the kind of hypnosis you might see on television or.
I do think those stage hypnotists do it a disservice, because that's a very instructive hypnosis where the client or the person on stage, whatever you want to call them, it looks very permissive and lacks control, and that's not the way it is. That you've got complete control, and it's really important to be interacting in hypnosis.
So you're having a conversation then during the hypnosis.
You can do. I mean, it's not common, but you can do.
I see.
There's some people who will ask questions and make it very interactive, but some people don't like that. But the most important thing is it's not done to you, it's done with you.
With you.
Yeah.
And what are some examples of the kind of problems that respond well to hypnosis?
Well, behaviour change is a big one. So if someone's got a behaviour that they want to understand better or want to stop. So it could be something to do with smoking or eating. And they're interesting ones because they often happen. There's often a bit of dissociation which happens in those behaviours where people aren't fully aware of what they're doing when they're doing it. There's people can do it for gambling.
Can people do it for things that they that are unconscious? Like, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, if you had some kind of a nervous tic, or is that a different thing?
A nervous tic is a little bit more difficult to manage with it. I mean, it's possible, but it's difficult to manage with hypnosis because unless you can uncover what the trigger is, and then you can approach the trigger in hypnosis and your response to that. Certainly things like nail biting, but again, that is often happens more in a dissociated state. People don't realise what they're doing, and before they know it, their hands are in their mouth. But you can set up a series of behaviours where you become more conscious of your unconscious behaviours. So that would be embedded in a suggestion or a metaphor in a hypnosis session. So becoming
aware of...
It is awareness, because there's a sense of mindlessness to some of the habits that we have.
I'm sure. And with eating, that's an interesting one. Is that to help people that perhaps overeat without realising it, that kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, it is. And you do have to be careful with eating behaviours.
I'm sure it's a tricky area.
It's a really tricky area. So you want to understand what's behind disordered eating before you start treating it. If people are eating without noticing it, then that's different, But it's never happening on its own.
No, and I guess for something like that, you need a whole team, don't you, of doctors? And,
absolutely. If there's disordered eating, you need to have doctors, nutritionists, and on board. But my approach is always, it's just not a problem that presents just with food.
No.
And so I would be looking at what other sort of issues are present, and they may not be treatable in hypnosis. That might be something that has to be treated in a different way.
Right. I guess, as we said, you need to work with a team in those situations. And then if we move on a bit to relaxation, because you said they're linked, can you tell us a little bit about what relaxation does for people and some tips perhaps on good ways to relax?
Relaxation is good for everyone. It just lowers the heart rate, essentially.
Right.
And so, yes, hypnosis involves a state of relaxation, and it often results in a feeling of relaxation, but you can certainly have relaxation without hypnosis. And so I encourage people to practice relaxation, often through meditation.
Right.
Because it's guided relaxation and it's helpful.
And I guess it gives someone a program to follow, doesn't it? If you follow a guided meditation, for example.
And if people present to me with symptoms of anxiety, there's just no harm in learning relaxation skills, and it will most commonly help with symptoms of anxiety.
And do you think people don't relax enough in modern days?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to generalise, obviously, but...
Yes, I do think people don't relax enough, and I think what people categorise as relaxation often isn't.
Right.
And so it might be, playing on their phone or
I see.
Activities, but it may not be lowering the heart rate. It may not be offering you what you need to get. So that's where I think meditation is the safest form of relaxation, because you probably know you're getting something out of it. So 10 minutes of meditation. There was a study that, which I can't remember who it was, but I read it, that said that 10 minutes of meditation offers the benefits, psychological and physical benefits, of 44 extra minutes of sleep.
Wow.
So if you're sleep deprived, and I can't quite remember whether that was through heart rate, less vulnerability to disease, or how it was measured, but
it's obviously beneficial.
It stuck with me, 10 to 44, yeah.
And the other thing that goes on a little bit from relaxation is social media, because sitting down, as you say, and playing phone games is not a form of relaxation. But social media, you wrote a blog post about social media, and it's all pervasive these days, and I wondered if you could give our listeners just some tips on how to manage social media.
Yeah, I encourage my clients to be more mindful of their time on social media, and that's my adolescent clients and my adult clients, because often adults and parents set a bad example by fiddling with their phone. It's habitual, and there's a mindlessness to it where you just lose track of time. It's a bit hypnotic, actually.
Yeah.
And so, I came up with an idea with one of my clients that she sets alarms on her phone just to become aware of the time. So you might keep a record of it. And that way you can look at it and see who's in control of who.
Yeah, and you can probably be a bit more analytical then, I expect.
Yeah, I think so. And make a choice, because if you're not mindful about it, you're not making the choice.
Yes. So, I think because phones are so portable and they're so easy just to pick up, aren't they?
They are. But self-monitoring is the way you want to go. It's not as useful for parents to monitor their child's online behaviour. I mean, it's certainly a last resort. But if you can encourage your child to self-monitor, it's got longevity.
Yeah, it certainly does, because the parents aren't always going to be around, are they?
No. And self-monitoring translates to all aspects.
Yeah, it's a form of discipline, isn't it? And then just the final question that I like to ask all my guests, if you could recommend 2 things that all people could do to improve their well-being, what would they be?
It's hard to come up with two.
I know, two's not very many.
But probably the one that will always come to mind is be kind to yourself and be kind to others. That's a big mantra of mine. I think if you're kind to yourself, you're going to benefit. And if you're kind to others, even if you're not kind to yourself, you benefit. So that's a big one for me. So my second one would be being more present and enjoying the present, and not looking back, even though looking back can be useful when you're looking at past achievements and using them to build strength and look at your strengths and go forward. And looking forward can be useful for goal setting, but looking back's not good with hindsight and regret, and looking forward's not good if you're planning away your future. So just spend more time in the present and enjoy the present, because it's usually pretty good.
Yes, and that's very much linked in as well with meditation and mindfulness, isn't it?
It is.
Appreciating what's happening right now and trying to enjoy it.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much, Charlotte.
My pleasure.
And that was Charlotte Weigold. If you would like to connect with Charlotte or learn more about her psychology practice, you can visit her website at www.charlotteweigoldpsychology.com, and I will put a link to her website in the show notes. You can subscribe to Amanda's Wellbeing Podcast on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, and while you're there, click on the bell to be alerted when new episodes are available. You can also subscribe on your favourite podcast app, including iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify and Google Play. And you can follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. Direct links to all social media can be found on the subscribe page of my website at www.amandaswellbeingpodcast.com. If you would like to contact me, you can send me a message via the contacts page on my website. Please feel free to suggest topics you'd like to learn more about and people you'd like to hear interviewed, and I will do my best to deliver that to you. Producing the podcast is a labour of love. We put in a lot of time, money and effort behind the scenes. So if you enjoy Amanda's Wellbeing Podcast and would like to make a contribution via PayPal, Patreon or by Amazon to help ensure we continue to provide you with excellent content, please visit the Contribute page on my website. Also, and finally, if you are listening on iTunes, please take a minute to leave a rating. And if you are listening on YouTube, please hit the subscribe bell. It improves visibility and will help me source excellent guests. Thank you for tuning in. Eat well, move well, think well.